the power, Bryant. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
I am fantastic, Blake. And I want to shout you out. Your scrimmage report was on point. Everyone should go sub to the AYS forum. I will also say, shout out to J&J Exterminating, right? Look, when you guys see these like partners on any of these shows, you got to go support. If you see a cockroach, call J&J. And when you think about it, all right, and I'm chilling.
And we're not talking about those Tony Montana type cockroaches either. Little cockroach.
Yeah, I do want to point out that J&J are like legendary initials in modern LSU lore. All right, you got Justin Jefferson, that Jay Johnson guy, kind of important as well. So
yeah,
there you go. So I'm giving
Blake Baker hats to wear on the sidelines to rep, for LSU. Jay gave him a hat. That's what he's repping on the sidelines.
Yes, he's wearing the baseball hat. I was wondering. I was like, let's go.
No more drippier DC in the country more than Blake Baker right now.
Right. And look, I want to talk, Blake, about contingent value. So, one thing I don't.
You're gonna have to explain. I went to public school. What does contingent value mean?
Contingent value. It's actually a term that's used in fantasy football. Like all the fantasy experts use this term. Who are the backups, the handcuffs? Who are the guys that, as a late round pick, if the first guy gets hurt, can you rely on that guy to bring you fantasy points? Can you rely on that guy to be a decent replacement? And based on what I'm hearing, based on what I've read on your forum, based on everyone I've spoken to today about the last couple of days of practice, Brian Kelly is doing a really good job of setting this team up with contingent value, right? There's probably quite a few people that are wondering, well, why are they putting Garrett Dellinger at center and seeing if this could potentially be a thing, especially, no, go on.
Well, and that DJ Chester's not hurt because he's sitting there at guard.
Right. So what they are doing is preparing for if DJ Chester can't go. Right. Because if you don't have him, your backup centers are true freshmen. And that's not where you want to be, potentially true freshmen. So that is a huge contingent value play. The second most important backup, Blake, as you know, on every football team, behind the backup quarterback, is the number 6 offensive lineman. Whoever that first offensive lineman is off the bench. What is your contingent plan? What happens? Last year you had Lance Hurd coming off the bench. That was a great luxury. But now, you're seeing, well, what if our center gets hurt? Well, we need to have Garrett Dellinger ready to go. That's where we want to go. And Delly himself says he knows all the calls. So that's something that I've noticed in practice. They're rolling out all these new nickel packages. They're giving Jair Brown a lot of opportunities. And I can make a very strong case, Blake, and you saw this at practice. And I know the highlight that's viral right now is this guy getting posterized, basically. But Whit Weeks is probably the most important backup on this defense. And I think he is, Blake. I think he is, man. If for some reason Greg Penn or Harold Perkins were to go down, I still think Whit Weeks is good enough to start.
And I think it might be Ashton Stamps.
Oh, so you think so?
Yeah, because I think you have more talent at linebacker than you do at corner.
I would say they're both equally important, if anything. Probably. But to your point, he is also very, very, very important. So the one thing I've seen in practice in LSU, one thing that they're emphasizing this year is building that depth. Something that Brian Kelly talked about at SEC Media Days. It's one of the deepest teams that he has had. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited that they aren't doing the same stale practices, or they're mixing in guys so you can really go. And Blake, like you've said, I have heard this from someone who is at practice every single day. Jair Brown is playing better. He's getting better.
I'm playing more than better. Let's start off there. So look, Carter, on Saturday at the scrimmage and today, you have the defense winning the period. You have your defense winning the 11 on 11. What do you make of that? Because look, I mean, there's so many things that can be made of it. I've had my opinion, but I'm interested of yours. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm just going to continue my Blake Baker parade, man. It's just a different building. The whole building's just different. spoke to a player on the defense recently. It's just different. The energy. You see it. You see guys that I saw someone mention a minute ago. If the players give up on Matt House in your comment section, it's something that John Sibley pointed out. Thank you for Sibley for supporting Blake with the super. It's the enthusiasm. Now, Blake, your boots on the ground. I've spoken to you about this. Spoken to Matthew Brune about this. It just seems different. You see these clips of Blake Baker dropping an interception, doing the push-ups. Is his scheme better than Matt House's? Yes. But defense is so much about desire. It's so much about feeling out a game.
Chemistry.
Yes. And one key thing that Blake Baker said in the press conference that I wholeheartedly agree with, defensive coordinator play needs to be more about feel than the offensive coordinator. Like, you really got to be able to feel out situations, feel out your personnel. When you play defense, you are the reactionary to the offense, right? And watching as much Blake Baker defense as I did last year, not only just, watching him as an LSU DC, but also Blake, just watching him for film studies for the SEC channel that I do, he's good. And Blake, I've gotten 2 DMs from fans saying, Carter, quit glazing Blake Baker. Quit. You got to stop it. Every single show I hear it. But I legitimately think you are watching something truly special. Now, you being Blake, you are my go-to. I trust your eyes more than basically anyone. I like that you are wholeheartedly saying that you feel better about this LSU defense. And I am cautiously getting just a little bit optimistic about it as well. I still don't love the personnel, but it's growing on me day by day, especially as I listen to you.
Look, I want to be cautious, but here's the thing. I know the clips that LSU is pushing out as all of the offensive wins. Carter, we're out there. I mean, look, even if you don't believe me, because this fan base at times can be stupid in reference to, oh, well, I like this guy, so I'm going to believe what he says. I'm not the one that made Wilson Alexander or Zach Nagy or any of those guys go out there and run out and put the same exact things that I did.
Yeah.
Carter, I don't know what to make of you getting dominated. I shouldn't say dominated, but losing the last 2 offensive periods if you're Garrett Nussmeier, Joe Sloan. Now, look, what I think is happening here, too, is I do think the defense, to some extent, in 11-on-11 is a little bit ahead of the offense, mainly due to the fact, Carter, they're going through a whole new offensive system in reference to how they want to run things, what they want to do. But you see big runs like Caleb Jackson had up the middle, up the A-gap in the counter trap that he doesn't get touched and goes for 7. That's what I'm talking about in the run game. So everything that I've been seeing, like the run by Caleb Jackson is what I'm talking about. What gets missed, too, the Caleb Jackson running over Whit Weeks, what nobody wants to talk about was 2nd and 10. It brought up a 3rd down that gets a pass break broke up, and they're kicking a field goal. I don't give – here's my thing. Whit Weeks can get run the fuck over all he wants to. But if they're getting off the field on 3rd down, what do I care? I don't care. Right. So there comes a point where, and I asked you this last week. I'm not going to ask you it again this week.
No, bring it.
It's not that I'm worried about Nuss or this offense. What I'm saying is you're going to have to determine to me how you have 6 plays and you getting stuffed. Because, Carter, what happened today was in a 2-minute drill, you legitimately went 3 and out in both of them. By the way, Garrett threw 2 picks. 2 picks. So there comes a part where you have big-ass Paris Shan at the nose guard. I talked earlier, go to the show if you watching the clip, about the personnel that they ran out there. What am I supposed to make of it, Carter, is what I'm trying to ask and get to.
Yeah, so first thing is, I know I tweeted out the Caleb Jackson clip. It's always cool when you see someone run somebody over.
Which he's a bull. We're going to talk about him next.
Yeah.
He's a freaking bull.
Running people over is also analytically not vibes based. Vibes based, it's the best play you can make. All right. But analytically, you gain an extra 1 or 2 yards. Whit Weeks made the play.
He made the play, got him in on 3rd down, and they wind up having to kick a field goal. Again, that's my point. It doesn't matter to me. Carter, a man could get hit and get run over, and he get in his body is implanted into the ground, and he gets shoot down through the ground. He comes up, and Kim Jong-un is on the other side of when he comes out the other part of the of the earth. I don't give a shit if he made the play. That doesn't bother me. So there comes a point where, again, I ask, what am I supposed to make of this? Because here's what my gut opinion is. All right. Y'all gonna play around with this defense and find out. But the opposite side of this is, why is there issues on Garrett's decision making in reference to not converting these third downs?
Yeah, it is something, right? One final thing on the Caleb Jackson thing. All right. And I did see a viewer say earlier about Caleb Jackson's fit in the offense. And I understand. They
tweeted me and you, just for context.
Right.
They said, does a 235-pound running back deserve in this offense? Shit, yeah, he does.
No, he's going to be good. He's going to be really good. But if there is something that he could work on, he did have some true freshman vision mistakes, right? Where he
ain't having vision mistakes now, though, dog.
Yeah. If those get corrected, you might be looking at 1,000-yard rusher, right? And those are more rare nowadays than you would like to think. So he's got the juice. But once again, I'm always going to be an unabashed Josh Williams homer, and I love what I'm hearing from John Emery. But Blake, one minor thing to bring up is we also need to give Joe Sloan some time to grow, because this could be growing pains for him. He was in the booth. He sat next to Mike Denbrock, but Denbrock called the shots. Now, we can get into a debate. Was it the Denbrock offense? Was it the Brian Kelly offense? How much does Cortez Hankton, the passing coordinator, get involved with the play calling? It is a new system and a new line of command, because they are, in theory, co-OCs, even though Sloan is actually calling, the shots, right? So,
and if shit gets bad enough, Brian Kelly's going to pick up a play card and start calling plays. You know that, right? If shit got really bad on offense, he won't do that defensively. Offensively, he will.
He will. And I like Joe. I know some of Joe's friends. Don't know him personally. Same thing about Blake Baker. Know some of Blake's friends. Never spoken to either one of them personally. I know you have, in particular, Joe Sloan. I think Joe is good enough to call this offense. I really do.
Disagree.
But I do want to point out how freaking good Blake Baker is as a DC. I know I keep hammering this. He's really, really good. What he did with Missouri last year, yeah, they had a lot of guys get drafted, and they had a lot of dudes. But it would not shock me if Missouri's defense completely falls apart now that him and Kevin Peoples are gone. So I
think, to your point, very quickly,
yeah, go ahead.
I think that the struggles that Nuss is having is because Blake Baker is sending so much shit at him that he has no idea what he's looking at. So, for example, I sent you and I told everybody about the defensive line unit that was there, the front five. What's not missed upon me is that Paris Shane in the first 2 minute drill got an interception on fourth down. It was Harold Perkins jumping up at the guard position and tapping the ball up, and Paris Shane picking it off. So you got Harold Perkins making a play, being out there, being a playmaker from a schematical standpoint, and then you got Paris Shane picking it off. Now, LSU just posted it, and I tweeted it and said, told you. I'm not making this shit up. My point is, I don't think Garrett fully knows what he's seeing on a day-in, day-out basis, and this is their base defense. This is the shit that they're running base. Now, P. Scott sends in a super chat and says, got to see this defense against real competition. But, Carter, here's my issue with that. What do you call this LSU offense? It's 1 versus 1. Is that not real competition?
Yeah, I mean, this offense is just as good as USC's offense. Now, they do have familiarity.
Are they?
They do have familiarity with the offense. And, well, I mean, we can crap on Lincoln Riley all he wants. I think Lincoln Riley is kind of gotten stale. But if you're giving him months to plan for LSU, he's going to have a really good game plan.
I agree.
I think USC.
They're going to send the house at Miller Moss's ass.
Yeah, I would too. One thing I would bring up, okay, is Nuss is not small. He's not Bryce Young, but he's not the biggest guy. And when you send those second level pressures, there was another one with they clipped this video. It was a blitz actually from Ashton Stamps coming off the corner.
Yes.
And shorter quarterbacks, I feel, are more affected by second level pressures that are unblocked because, it's harder to throw over them if you're shorter. I think that's part of it. But yeah, they've been getting exotic in practice, Blake, like you shared.
But see, here's the thing though, Carter. I'm going to be real with you. Based off of what the shit that I've seen and what Blake has sent and the personnel that he's running out there and what he's doing, we might call it exotic because Matt House was so vanilla that Blue Bell thought he was amazing. Okay, but I don't think this is exotic. What I really think is happening here is I think this is going to be the base core of what you see. I really believe that. Shit, y'all think this is playing, brother? Here's the question that I'm starting. Let me tell you this. So to all 587 people that are in here live currently, let me say this. I don't think. Well, how do I want to say this? I don't know if you didn't have the personnel last year defensively. Have you seen Harold Perkins make this many plays? Because LSU just posted him batting up a pass and Parashan making off a pick. Then you have Perk. Okay, we need to talk about Perk. Let's get to him. You have Perk on Saturday shooting through the A-gap, tackling Caleb Jackson as soon as he gets the ball and making a tackle on third down. Carter, I don't want to be over dramatic is what I'm trying not to do. But internally, what I'm really doing is like, we about to fuck some shit up. That's that's legitimately how I feel, but I got to be conservative because I know how the season goes. I think we about to fuck some shit up.
I'll say I would just want to share how much I envy Harold Perkins, right? I mean, this guy in an interview session.
He's having such a good camp, dude. He's having such a good camp.
But the best thing, because Blake, you and I are chubby people. You're getting you're getting.
Hey, man.
You've lost weight. I give you a lot of credit, man. But you have to really strictly stick by a diet. Harold Perkins telling the media, I'm just pounding food. And that's helping you become a better athlete.
Dude, we walked out of team practice or our team interviews. Dude was sitting down and had a hind quarter piece of chicken, a thing of pasta, and which looked like steak. My man is eating, son.
Dude, imagine being told, hey, Harold, you're one of the most special athletes. Okay. What we need you to do is eat 5-star cuisine from
but dude, here's the thing though. He's making so many plays. It's undeniable at the current moment. That's the thing for me that I love. And you know what? They're moving him all over the place. And you know what? They're getting him close to the football, which I love. Let him go make plays. Stop all this thinking bullshit. Go make plays. So, look, I want to continue to see Perk making plays. But, look, the tackles that he's having for loss, shooting through the A-gap, making these plays, DJ Chester did come back in. There was something I missed. DJ Chester did come back in at center, okay? What I just want to make notice of here is that he's all over the place. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the last two practices in Harold Perkins. Let me move to the offense very quickly. We've spent a lot of time defensively.
Yeah.
Let's focus in on Caleb Jackson very quickly. Caleb Jackson, to me, has had the most explosive camp because as soon as he's getting some of these handoffs, Carter, he's gone for 7. Or he's catching a ball out of the backfield, which, look, let's just be honest, he struggled with last year. And he's running dudes over. That is still a big deal. But the bottom line is, Carter, he's taking multiple plays for 7, and he's not getting touched. I think it's because he's hitting the right holes. I think it's because of this offensive line going up against a D-line that's had issues in the run game. But Caleb dude, I think he's going to be more than 1,000-yard back. I think he's going to be that good.
Wow. Wow. I'm almost there. I really am. I do think he's really good. Like, he was a number 2 ranked player in the class last year, and then the services had him 8. Man, he's definitely one of the most athletic LSU football players ever. And in terms of just pure athleticism, size, strength, speed, combination, he's definitely the best since Leonard Fournette when it comes to just that. And once again, if he corrects just these little mistakes, obviously he had the Ole Miss drop, and I felt like there were some yards left on the field. But if he just gets that much more elusive and that much more of a complete back, you are truly witnessing something big here. And look, this is the best offensive line LSU has put out there. I'm interested to see what the swing situation is. Like we talked about earlier, who your top backups are going to be. It's probably Tyree Adams. Yeah, and your backup quarterback situation as well. But Caleb is so good. He really, really, really is. And it's going to be interesting to see how he grows into this role, because I do think LSU does not mind workhorsing him this year, because he does give you that much more upside. John Emery's not a home run hitter. Josh Williams isn't a home run hitter like Caleb Jackson. Both of them have had explosive runs, and they have been a lot more explosive on longer runs than most would think. But Caleb is that guy. And if he continues to grow, this could be a sophomore breakout that we haven't seen in a long time.
Wide receiver. Look, I don't think this is what I think happened. I think that we undervalued CJ Daniels in the portal. I think on Saturday he took a drag route on 4th down for 25 yards, broke 3 tackles, and got him in field goal range. Chris Hilton. I don't know what to make of him. I think if he stays healthy, he's not going to be a high catch guy, but the yardage is going to be there. And then you have Kyron Lacey. The 4th guy's been Aaron Anderson, who I do think has had a good camp to some extent. Look, he's been wide open, Carter, and they force-fed him the football, and he's been there. And then Xavion Thomas. So I think that you have a rotation of 5 guys that has not come out. Brian Kelly was asked about, you're playing a lot of guys at wide receiver. No, they're not.
No.
With the first team unit, they are not. It is the first 3, and then they're your traditional type of slot guy. One guy that I think I cannot leave here tonight without talking to you about is Chris Hilton. And I think that's because, Carter, he's been I call him 7-Eleven because he's always open. Sage Ryan has done a very good job at keeping up with him. Look, I got to give Sage a lot of credit here, dude. I really do. I know that LSU Gold posted the individual drills where he's getting beat, but on 11-on-11, man, he's making plays, getting PBUs. But Chris Hilton has been open. I guess your thoughts on his emergence here, because a lot of people knew of the talent but hadn't really seen it like this yet.
Yeah, so I actually met Chris's parents at the spring game and spoke to him for a while. People. Oh, they're the best. And I just envied their son, like how patient he was. A few stats here, and this is very bullish on Aaron Anderson and Chris Hilton. Like every single Louisiana top 100 wide receiver that has played at LSU, I think the last 9 of them have all made the NFL. All of them. So,
and you know what's even crazier than that? Everybody thought Trey Palmer was a bust, and then he goes to Nebraska, and then look what he's doing in the league.
Right. Even the ones that don't work out at LSU, like Trey Quinn, Tyron Johnson. So historically, that means really good news for those 2 guys, because they've really not done a whole lot. They've been, on the backseat, of course, to Kyron and those other 2 legends that are killing it in the NFL right now as rookies.
Right.
But top 100 Louisiana wide receivers are as sure as a bet going to the NFL, not only here, but when they go to other schools as well.
Right.
So that's very good news if you're Chris Hilton and Aaron Anderson fans. You're right. Chris is definitely one of the hardest workers on the team. Obviously there have been some drop concerns in his career. There's been some balance concerns in his career, but it's come together, right?
He's getting airmailed by Nuss, and he's not getting they can't. Here's the reason why he's not exploding in practice on these deep balls, these go routes, these posts. He's getting airmailed.
Yeah, and look, one kind of underrated thing was, and I do want to say this. I did a full film study on Jaden's preseason game on Power Hour NFL. Jaden is one of the best deep ball throwers I have ever seen. Dude, I swear. I know that sounds nuts because he doesn't have a Mahomes arm and he's not known for that. But there's not many guys I want to
did it on Jared Bernard Converse too.
Jared. Yeah. There's not many guys I want throwing a goal ball down the sideline more than Jaden. Like, it is insane how good he is at that. He was with Brandon Ayuk early in his career, and obviously it faded and it got better. Garrett's deep ball accuracy, for the most part, is good. For the most part, is really good. But I am a little concerned because we want to hit Chris on these deep balls. And like you said about CJ Daniels, CJ is good.
He's another one. Let me tell you this. He's another one that I want to say, like, I want to be able to come out here and say what I feel, but I'm so gun shy at the current moment on some of these things that I'm seeing that I'm standoffish. Right. Like, and because here's the thing, nobody at wide receiver this camp has made a better play than what CJ Daniels did on the drag route on 4th down, breaking 3 tackles, stiff arms, held Perkins down to the ground, okay, and Park gets up like, all right, big fella, let's roll. And dude, he's on a Biletnikoff watch list because of this. Yeah. I'm just not sure. And Carter, he had 8 catches for 89 yards against Oregon. Like, it's not that he's not going up against P5 programs and not done some really good shit. Yeah. It's just, for me, dude, I don't know if you haven't reloaded a receiver, but the whole team, this is my God's honest take before I get you out of here.
No, go ahead.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
And look, CJ has a chance to break one of the craziest records at LSU. First out-of-state receiver to get over 40 catches in a season since Terrence Oliver. And he's got a really good shot.
He's got more than a really good shot.
He's got a really good shot. And look,
you got 2 really physical wide receivers in Kyron Lacey and CJ Daniels. And you have a dude in Chris Hilton that can take the top off. They're going to alter it out because then comes in Aaron Anderson, then comes in Xavion Thomas. Dude, I'm sorry, man. They reloaded. Now, does it mean you reloaded to 2 first-round wide receivers? I'm not saying that. But
okay. Well, Blake, I mean, let me just share a few things here about CJ Daniels. Number 1 last year, SEC StatCat yards per route run. Okay? Yards per route run is one of the stickiest stats when it comes to wide receiver play. And sticky means it's predictive from one year to the next. And yards per route run is simple. You divide the amount of yards you had by the amount of routes you run. And CJ Daniels was the best in college football, up there with Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison. Now, I understand it's Liberty competition. He had Caden Salter.
Well, then he's playing Oregon.
Yeah, and that he had some down moments in that game, but he was also really good in that game too. And
that fade route he caught along the sidelines was insanity.
And one thing I do like about him as well, on top of the yards per route run, I have a buddy. I wouldn't say he's a close friend, but his name is Mike Renner. He used to work at Pro Football Focus. He's with CBS. He is extremely high on CJ Daniels to the point where, like, this is a national analyst with no ties to LSU or Liberty. It's his job to get this shit right. And he really, really thinks CJ Daniels is special. I'm not quite there. I'm not quite there just yet, but I do think he has a really high floor, and he's going to do some really good things at LSU. They wouldn't.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Last thing here. Do you think you're an overall better team balance because of how much better this defense might be?
Yes. The simple truth is this, Blake. The first 2 years, and I think Brian Kelly would sit and tell you this, the first 2 years of LSU football has been very chaotic. It's been very good. It has been far more good than bad. So in year 1, you had a really balanced team that played a lot of chaotic games, right? You really didn't blow anyone out and until the Purdue game. You had a lot of these close games where you either start slow and you just kind of found a way to win. And then the next year, it got even more chaotic, where you had one of the best offenses we have ever seen in college football and one of the worst defenses we have ever seen relative to expectations and the amount of draft picks and so on and so on, blue chip ratio, all that stuff. I think this team will be a more chaotic neutral, if that makes sense, right? It's not going to have the Jaden and Malik upside.
It won't. It's not.
It's just impossible.
You're not going to have a quarterback that's going to run for 85-yard touchdown. It's not going to happen.
And then obviously BTJ, it's just not going to. It's going to be really, really hard.
He's so good. He's so pretty. Did you see him this weekend?
Oh, that was not only did I make that catch, Blake, he played all 9 snaps with the first team unit. So really excited about that. But Blake, I think Brian Kelly just wants this team to be like, obviously you want to be exceptional in all 3 phases, but I do think this will be a team that is top 60 in offense, top 60 in defense.
Oh,
what?
Oh, top 60, not top 16.
No, not top 16. I think you're
we're
just
going to the national title if that happens.
Right. He just wants things to be more even. Like, you don't want to be on a team where your special teams is one of the worst we've ever seen at LSU. You don't want to have a team where
that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. They upgraded punter, and Ramos has had a good camp, and Slade Roy is a great deep snapper. I know I'm biased, but still. And then obviously defensively, Blake, you don't want to have the worst defense we've ever seen at LSU, which it felt like last year at times. I think this team will be more of just a solid team. It might not have the Jaden upside where Jaden can go out there and win and play perfect in every single game. You're not going to have that level of quarterback play to bail you out. But I do think if you have an offensive line as good as LSU's, you have a coaching staff that's gotten better, I felt, this offseason, you're going to feel better about the future of the team, and the immediate future of this team, I think, is pretty solid. And I'll end with this, and I'll keep ending it on your show. LSU has never gotten schedule breaks like this. Never. It's and that,
Carter, you're beating Bama at home.
Yeah, I believe so too. And I also think, you wouldn't normally, like, if I looked at the schedule 3 years ago, I wouldn't look at the schedule and say, okay, this is an easy schedule, because Chip Kelly was at UCLA. You had 2 out-of-conference Power 5 games. But really, LSU, once again, I've already ranked them. LSU's got the second easiest schedule to me in the SEC, especially if you're
Is Mizzou at 1?
Mizzou is by far at 1. I saw your short earlier. That is inexcusable how much softer their schedule is, and everyone is inexcusable. Their bye week allocation, all of it, it's bullshit. It really is. But
Carter, the Power Bryant.